Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Bādarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryan Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu The source book for this knowledge of what is known as Upaniṣad. The word itself has the meaning. The meaning in the subject matter of the text. The subject matter of the text is the truth of the self, yourself. Upaniṣad. The knowledge of the truth of yourself is the knowledge of the truth of the world and the cause of the world. In other words, there is only one reality which happens to be you. You are facing a world. You are the knower, the subject, referred by the word I, and the world that you confront through your own means of knowing. Basically your senses and your very well developed the infrastructure of rational thinking, helping you draw inferences, presumptions. Very big. But all these are known as means of knowing, pramanas. Prama means knowledge. Pramanam, when you say means of knowing, means of knowledge. So you are at one end of this means of knowledge, the knower, the subject, you. And There are objects of knowledge. The object of knowledge is always looked upon other than the knower. So this is your day-to-day living. So you live in this scheme of things called Jagat in Sanskrit, which you come to objectify with your own set of means of knowledge, senses, basic, and inferences, logical, rational thinking. Therefore, subject differs from the object differs from the subject. Therefore, you are living in a diverse world. You are unlike everything else. You are unlike everything else. You don't need to see your thumb impression or your earlobe. You are the only subject whom you can refer by the word I. Everything else is object. This is what we call the Jiva Jagat. The Jiva, the individual. Who deals with this Jagat? Dealing with the Jagat is not as simple. Because you are dealt with by the Jagat. Jagat means it is not just mountains and trees. Jagat includes your mother-in-law. Understand? That is Jagat. All bacteria form the Jagat. Virus form the Jagat. And if you have some insight of astrology, then Jagat includes Shukra, Shani, Buddha. All these devatas are included. You are a loner. If you feel lonely, it is nothing surprising. Swamiji, I feel lonely. You are lonely. Surrounded by so many, countless stars. Moving galaxies. Sitting in this universe, you feel lonely. And it is so true. Because you are unlike everything else. You are the only one who has to deal with the world. The world is diverse and it is manifold. And you have 2 hands and 2 legs. One leg is shorter than the other. With limited knowledge, limited perception, fears, apprehensions, the individual. If I'm my self-consciousness is inhibited, denying me any judgment about myself, I can just live an automated life, programmed life, like a cow, like a cat. Without complexes, without facing this complexity of living, human life. But the truth is, I don't want to say unfortunately, I don't want to say fortunately until we discover the fortune. The truth is, I am uninhibited. In my self-consciousness, I am given this faculty which is totally uninhibited in terms of the self, and therefore I am conscious of myself, making a judgment. In the emotion of my being lonely lies a judgment. I am one single individual. To respond to everything. By marriage, you get some support, but still single you are. You have to deal with the spouse to get the help from the spouse. And therefore, some strength you get. Together you can perhaps face. For that one has to learn. But still, finally, hunger is personal, thirst is personal, breathing you have to do, nobody else can do for you, unless you are on a pump. But even then you are doing it. And therefore, so you have to, the pains and certain forms of so unpleasant situations have to be faced, all by one person. And you are paid also now and then, with some moments of pleasure. And there are pleasant situations. So these are the small payments we have. We can look for them. Those purple moments and brilliant spaces in between. Spells of despair, spells of loneliness, mourning. We do get something. But finally, when you look into the whole, the gamut of experiences, one thing becomes very evident, that I am unlike everything else. So if somebody asks this question, why me? And that somebody is not a single person, because everybody asks the same question, why me? Why me? This why me question has got a reality about it. because one has to deal with all this. There is no proxy. There is no proxy living. You can share your sadness. You can share your sadness if the other person is willing to share. You can share your sadness. Distribute the sadness, sadness becomes less. You can share your happiness, happiness becomes more. There's some truth about it. But still, I am unlike everything else. So this duality, the subject-object duality, poses varieties of questions. The questions like, why somebody is at the right place at the right time? How come I am also at the right place but not at the right time? This we see all the time. So to be at the right place at the right time is not in your own hands. If it is in your hands, you will always succeed. You ask every baseball player, will tell you. He is at the right place. And he has his what do you call that, club in his hand, the bat. What comes is a ball. It's not a balloon or something. And it is hard enough to get hit. And he is ready to hit. The ball comes and hits. And he looks for the ball where it is. The fellow behind is having it. It's all percentage game. And if at all you connect, you hear the sweet sound of connection. Wow, wonderful. It goes this side. It doesn't travel anywhere. It's a foul ball. It's a foul hit. So, this seems to be the order of human life. It's difficult to manipulate these variables, these various variables, to be at the right place at the right time in different spheres of living. It's not one thing. It's personal relationships, family, implying family, etc. There is a profession. As a professional, there's a sphere. if all these have to be manipulated, to be aligned in such a way that things are all in place as I want them. What I don't like doesn't appear anywhere in the vicinity of the sphere. That's intelligent living. We are trying to be smart, we are trying to be intelligent, and we try to manipulate the situations. We begin to wonder, are we manipulating or we are manipulated? The situations seem to manipulate me. I find myself in the wrong place. I find myself at the right place at the right time. That's the hope. Keeps me going. Again to find myself in a wrong place, wrong time, or right place, wrong time. All through one's lifetime. Therefore, the stance of an individual against the world is that of a ninja. Everybody is a ninja. Before anybody gets me, I have to get. And you can't fight because most of them are invisible, like bacteria. At least you can protect yourself from them. At least you can think of protecting yourself. But there are invisible, what we call duritas, adrishta. But the invisible, you face the music all right. And therefore there are too many things in too many fronts to be controlled, manipulated by this single lonely individual. I am alone and weary. Can be a legitimate feeling. Being self-conscious can be a legitimate feeling. This incapacity to control the variables, to make sure I am fairly successful, is a matter for despair. Or it can be a matter for further inquiry, understanding. Because not only I am endowed with self-consciousness leading to self-judgment, on the same score you have, because of the very endowment you have, the faculty to explore and see more. Judgment you have that you are a single individual pitted against the entire world, incapable of even figuring out what is in store. And therefore the feeling, I am done. The world is too much with me. This is the vision of every human being. If there is a human being in any other system, in any other planet, in any other sphere, having this kind of self-consciousness and judgment, will have the same feeling. So whether you are a Harvardian, or a Zamkura, somebody from a small village, this particular feeling of single person dealing with the entire world is not going to change. There is no proxy. In this, you can further explore what is it that I can call myself as responsible for this. What is one thing I can really point out? I am responsible for this. Therefore, the psychology is victim psychology. I cannot pinpoint one thing. Why I am born? Why I am born? That is original sin. Now. Why I am born? Why should you not be born? You give me an answer. Why should not be born? If I am born, I should be happy. Yeah. Why are you unhappy? How can I be happy? Why not? I am happy you are here. No, I am not happy. The situation is this. One reason why you are here, no, you are not the responsible for it. That you are here, you are not responsible. At least as an individual, you are not responsible. As an individual, you find yourself, your childhood, you are not responsible. Core issues you are not responsible for. Other issues, born of those issues, you are not responsible for. We always try to point out some reason for everything. But you can't trace the real reason in yourself as an individual. It's given. The contemporary society is given. Your body is given. The constitution is given. Its limitations are given. So, certain capacities also are given to use and abuse. All these are given. Therefore, any small inquiry, it doesn't require a great intellect to make this inquiry. If everything is given, a question will rise, is there a giver? This question can be asked and dismissed also. But question will be asked by a human intellect. A question cannot be avoided. This question cannot be avoided. It is asked and then dismissed. There is no answer for this. That's a dismissal. And one fellow ventures to answer, yes, there is someone who is the giver. He is called God. You have to buy the idea. There is someone. What is his address now? Whether someone is a he or she, that's a question. What is the address of that person? They give you ready. They give you ready-made address they have. God at heaven. .org ID. So there is a particular answer is given. Either you dismiss it or you swallow it without further inquiry. Then you become a faithful person. Something, at least you have included one more element. A little bit inquiry is there and stops. Stunted inquiry. It is not taken all the way. And these people who give you that kind of an answer have got a small programming, and that it is not available for understanding, it is beyond our understanding, and therefore you should not question. Questioning is evil, it is devil. Good program to keep you exactly the faithful. Faithful means mandunupal. So the inquiring capacity itself is muted. Is a muted capacity. That's why it's very dangerous. These kinds of concepts are very dangerous. So people who see through this will say, these questions have no answers. Then comes as a relieving, life-giving oxygen, the message of the Upaniṣad. It tells, yes, there is a giver. The giver is not located somewhere. The giver and the given both are one and the same. What? The given, the world, with all its forms, with all its forces, with all its laws, means, ends, all forms of life included, all spheres of living, all of them are the very giver. They are given and they are the giver. Given and giver are one and the same. If your body is given, it's not separate from the giver. If it implies your father, mother, they are also not separate from the giver. Within the giver alone is the given reality of parentage, childhood, growth, everything. And then if there are core issues, they are also within the giver and the given. If there is a subject matter called psychology, that's given, not separate from the giver. If there is a subject matter called physiology, given, not separate from the giver. Therefore, all that is given is not separate from the giver. And therefore, you say that you are alone, lonely. Lonely? Given, you are given. Your body is given, non-separate from the giver. Your prana is given, non-separate from the giver. Your mind is given, non-separate from the giver. The senses are given, perceptions are possible, non-separate from the giver. Memory, recollecting capacity, non-separate from the giver. And the knower of all this is also non-separate from the giver. It's given, non-separate from the giver. Where is distance between the giver, the given, and you? The distance is zero. Swamiji, I don't understand. That's why we teach, okay? But it should come as shocking. Then one can go about lamenting about varieties of things. Without caring to know. Because you are given the faculty of knowing. Basically, you are cognitive. You open your eyes, you see. What do you see? You may like or you may not like. That comes later. You open your eyes, you see. Sight takes place. Therefore, in the view of the Upanishad, the subject matter, which is the meaning of the word Upanishad, is ascertaining about oneself, ascertained knowledge of oneself. Upani. And it removes all your fears, all your conflicts, all your loneliness. It makes you free from anarthas. Anartha means what you don't want. Anartha vṛhadāraṇ visharati shitili karoti avasādayati. All the anarthas, what you don't want, you need not remove. It is all removed by this knowledge. It's removed because ignorance brings all those anarthas. In other words, there are no anarthas. There is only confusion. Anartha vṛhadāraṇ visharati. Upaniṣad. Upa is about the self, Atma. Ni niṣcayārtakaḥ. Ni. Ascertained, well ascertained knowledge of the self removes the confusion of the reality of yourself being one and non-dually one. This anartha it removes, and therefore it is called Upanishad. So the subject matter is a thing to be understood. You can call the subject matter as the truth of the world. You can call the subject matter as the truth of God. You can call the subject matter as the truth of yourself. Whichever way you call it, that will include the other two. If you say the world, then it has to include you. It has to include the cause of the world. If you say the cause of the world, it should include the world, the effect. And you who is looking at the world. If it is about you, then you are as an individual being affected by the world. You have to understand what that world is. Why I am affected by it? Am I affected by it? If that is so, how come that I am not affected now and then? All these questions would arise. Answer you have to. And therefore, so inquiring into oneself implies inquiry into the world and to the cause thereof. Therefore, the Upanishad has got a subject matter in helping you drop the confusion about the reality that is you. Reality of the world, reality of God, reality of yourself, which is free from problems that we generally try to solve. That means we are trying to solve problems that don't exist. And we will hand over the problem to the next generation also. So we try to solve problems that don't exist. The basic problems therefore, the subject matter being what it has got to be understood. It's always in the form of a dialogue. The Upanishad is in the form of a dialogue. Sometimes these dialogues have got the characters involved in the dialogue, some names are involved. Sometimes just words of questions and answers, the names are not involved. Keneshitam patati preshitam, the dialogue. Upanishad. It starts with a question and the answer. It's a dialogue. But no names are involved. But there are dialogues wherein some names are mentioned. We thought we will discuss about a dialogue. Upanishad dialogue, very beautiful dialogue between Yājñavalkya and Janaka. It's a huge dialogue. Endless verses are there. But we will get to see the vision of the dialogue. There is this, the Videha Raja, vaideha, Janaka, Ramayana fame. But this is Upanishad, really. Original Janaka is from Upanishad. Vaideha, and he is Janaka the king. And Yājñavalkya, the sage. They met each other. Yājñavalkya didn't have much to talk. Janaka also did not have anything to ask in the beginning. They asked certain kushala prashnas regular. How is it everything going? Our Indian way of asking is, when you go to India, suddenly you meet somebody, then so they will ask you different questions. They ask you, where are you from? You say, I am from this place. Oh, where are you going? So I'm going. They won't ask, where are you going? Are you going? You are going to Chennai? They will say. They won't ask, are you going to Chennai? That's a question. You should not ask a question asking, where are you going? That is not a question asked. When somebody is going to some place, you should not ask, where are you going? Don't ask, because that's not correct. That's not kosher. You can't ask it. You shouldn't ask him, where are you going? You make a statement and allow the person to answer, okay? That's why you will find some of these questions are in the form of affirmative sentences. You are going to Chennai. He already has concluded he is going to Chennai. Then he has to deny it. He gets the answer all right, but this is how they they ask questions. Chennai. What for? Some prashna, kushala prashna what it is. What do you do? If you are a young man, you will ask, are you married? These are all questions asked. No big deal. You need not answer, just they don't know what to do with you. So they ask some questions, then you also don't know what to do with these fellows. So some questions are asked, simple. This is called kushala prashna. Afterwards, after kushala prashna, Janaka asked, can I ask you some question? He asked for some permission. Asked for permission, can I ask some question? He said, you can ask. Then there was this conversation. This conversation leads to the discovery that the questioner is everything. There is no other reality except the questioner. Very big subject matter. We will see. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate